Welcome back to my channel, and today's video is going to be about overcoming hate and judgment. So the way we're going to do this is, firstly I'm going to tell you a bit about my story, and then we're going to talk a bit about what sort of hate and judgment you might receive and where that might come from, and then we'll discuss how that might affect you and why it's really important to overcome it and how. Okay, so if you're not subscribed, then please, if any of this is of interest to you, then please hit the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to hit the bell notification so that you can be notified every time I post a new video. And let's get into it. So, a bit about my story. I left my full-time job several years ago because I basically, now this is actually a long story and we're only going to touch on this, but I basically came to the conclusion that actually working in that sort of space, working in that 9-to-5 space wasn't actually for me. It wasn't what I wanted to do long term. I didn't feel like I was fulfilled. I didn't feel like I could be creative enough. And of course look, everybody's journey is going to be different. For some people 9-to-5 is going to be great. Everyone's experience is different, but for me personally, and of course there's so many ways that you can be creative in a 9-to-5, but I felt that for me I wanted more freedom. I wanted to really figure out what was possible, you know, in life. I'd seen so many other people earning online. I wanted to try to do that as well. And that started a really long and really tough journey for me, which I'm still in right now. But the next stage to this that I wanted to discuss is I also started on social media, and I built a following on TikTok. And so the first type of judgment that I probably received was leaving my job. So there were so many, and you might have experienced something like this in different situations, even jumping, let's say, from one career to another career, especially if one career has a certain, if people look at a particular career in a certain way. So for me, it wasn't the type of career, it was the fact that I was earning a decent amount. So I think when you're earning a decent amount, I think there can be a bit of a response like, why would you leave that? Why would you leave that for uncertainty? Why would you leave that for what you're doing? It probably seemed like a really mad thing to do, and it probably was a very mad thing to do, and maybe I could have done it in a way that was that was a little bit more planned, but I knew that I was making the decision that I felt was right for me. So going on to my social media, this is where I'm thinking, where do I start with this? Because I think that this is a whole other conversation. We're going to try not to go too deep into it. We're going to try to stick to the topic, but I think one of the things that can happen on social media is when you start out, everything's really great and it's all, you know, unicorns and rainbows, and it's all wonderful and everyone loves you. And as you start to get bigger, you find that hate starts to set in and it starts to grow like a weed. And that was very much something that I experienced. You can very much go from hero to villain on social media, and I got a lot of hate comments on all sorts of different topics. Every type of category you can possibly think of. I was getting hate comments related to how I dress, related to my content, people saying that my content wasn't any good, people talking about even down to your facial features. I had people making fun of my eyes, the way my eyes look when I smile. I had literally people creating videos on that. People were making fun of, you know, the way that I laugh at the end of a sentence, the way that I smile all the time, and still continue smiling at the end of a sentence. I'm trying to think all of the other types of things. Yeah, I had a lot of hate on my content, a lot of people who didn't understand it. I tried to create from a really positive place, and I found often that wasn't understood either, and it was labelled as toxic positivity. And I think whatever you do on there's always a possibility that this is going to happen to you. And you might not be on social media, but this is one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about it, because wherever you're at in your life, if you make a decision to do something very different, and I was often doing something that was very different, you are potentially going to get judgment. You're going to get judgment and hate, and that was where I wanted to define what I meant by judgment and hate, because they can be two things. So hate is something that you can get online on social media. You can get really nasty comments, you can get hate comments, you can also get judgmental comments, and judgmental comments can also come from people you know. They can come from family, they can come from friends who don't understand or respect or like some of the decisions that you're making for your life. And so one of the reasons I really wanted to talk about it is because it's so important to be yourself, and being yourself sounds so simplistic, but I think that being yourself is so relevant in so many different categories. So there's being yourself in how you dress and how you present, how you look. There's being yourself in the type of work that you do. It might be the way that you work. So do you work a 9 to 5? Do you work freelance? Do you work for yourself? And then there's the actual type of work that you do. So what industry are you in? What type of work are you doing? How are you doing it? Are you doing it in a group? Are you doing it on your own? So there's work, there's being yourself. So again, there's being yourself and how you present. There's being yourself in your work. There's being true to yourself is probably another better way to put it, possibly. Being true to yourself, being true to what it is that you really want. And this is why it's really important to be able to overcome judgment and hate, because if you decide to do something that is very different, this is something that you are likely to come across. You are likely to get come across people who are going to judge you. And some of the ways that I learned to deal with this was firstly by getting really, really grounded, and I'm sure you've heard this word many times. It relates to meditation, getting really grounded in yourself, getting really grounded in who you are, remembering that whatever somebody else is putting out there has so much more to do with them than it does to do with you. When someone else leaves you a judgmental comment, when someone judges you over something, it has so much more to do with, firstly, their energy and their negativity and how they're responding to you. And secondly, it has to do with their beliefs and their values, which might be very different to your own. And just because somebody else's values and beliefs are very different to yours doesn't mean that they're better, and it doesn't mean that they're more right. And maybe their values and beliefs are right for them, but maybe they're not right for you. So these were some of the things that I really had to practice. So certainly when I was dealing with the hate, at times there's been a lot of meditation, working on releasing these thoughts, especially when those thoughts actually aren't originally coming from you, they're coming from somebody else. So it's releasing those thoughts, releasing that negativity. It's falling back in love with yourself, and remembering that your feelings for yourself don't actually have to be connected to somebody else's feelings. You can love yourself despite somebody else standing there not liking you, that it is still possible for you to love yourself and for you to be grounded in your own values and beliefs. So yeah, it was really just a short video that I wanted to share. I wanted to share some of my experiences. I also wanted to share it in case any of you are maybe going through the same thing. Maybe you're making a massive change in your life. Maybe you've already made a massive change and there are still people who still aren't on board with what it is that you're doing. And I want you to know that it's okay and they don't have to be. And actually they might come round. In time they might come round when you start getting results, or when they start seeing what you're seeing. Then they might come round, because remember that this is your vision. This is the vision that you have. They don't have this vision. They don't have that in their mind. It's yours. And they're not necessarily going to understand it until they potentially see results. So just remember that whatever decisions you've made in your life or you want to make, remember that it's okay if not everybody around you understands those decisions. And that is the end of the video. If you'd like to leave a comment, that would be amazing. It's always I'm trying to constantly fix the I feel like I keep seeing a hair coming down, so I'm constantly trying to fix how the hat looks with it, but I'm not taking it off. I'm refusing. So yeah, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Have you had any experiences where you've maybe felt judged, where you've made a massive decision in your life? If you feel comfortable sharing, then please, share in the comments. Subscribe. If you've not subscribed, that'd be really amazing. I'm going to leave my Instagram handle down below if you want to follow me on there as well. I'll be creating different content on there. My group program is also open at the moment, currently at the time of making this video. Why did I do that again? I'm not putting anything down here. My group program is currently open. It's going to be looking at your beliefs, looking at your values, looking at who you are, looking at your individuality, really getting in touch with yourself and your own power, and looking at what it is that's authentic for you and what changes you want to make in your life. So if any of that sounds relevant, I'm going to leave the link for that down below, and I will see you in the next video.